if you have something that keeps surfacing for you that you know you want to do, and you may not know exactly all the steps to do it, go for it.
Mhm.
Have the confidence in yourself to just go for it. There are so many resources out there. And at the worst case scenario, you can Google it or go to YouTube and ask how to do X. But
Right.
just do it.
Welcome to the Midlife Schmidlife podcast, a show that celebrates women over the age of 40 who want to live a kick-ass life. I'm your host, Liz Applegate, and I'll be bringing you inspiring conversations and practical advice with a little bit of humor and random 80s references mixed in. Join me as we redefine these middle years to start living with newfound joy and purpose while turning our maybe someday dreams into today. Hey there to my rock star listeners. Welcome back to the Midlife Schmidlife podcast. And if it's your very first time here, welcome. I'm so glad that you are joining us. I have so many things coming up to share with you. I'm so giddy excited. I can just barely contain myself. I have ways that we can work together. I have ways you can hear more from me. It's just such a super exciting time in the life of my business and so different than 2017. And I really am just loving how 2018 is taking off. And I have a question for you. How about you? If we look back to the start of the year, are you feeling how you wanted to feel by now, 4 months in? Whether you are or not, just know that that's okay. There's no manual that says that by April of a certain year that you should have everything in alignment and everything should be going as planned, because let's be honest, sometimes that just doesn't happen. But what I'm hoping is that today's show will be able to help you, whether you're feeling great about the way the year is unfolding, or if you're feeling a little bit flat and realizing that 2018 is feeling just like another year on autopilot. My guest today is Staci Witten, and you may remember her from episode 17 of this show. Staci is a longtime friend, and in fact, we've known each other for almost 20 years. It's hard to believe, but yes, 20 years, many wrinkles ago, a couple pounds ago, children still living at home ago. 20 years can bring about a lot of change. And when she asked if I'd participate in an online summit that she was putting together, I jumped at the chance. Staci is bringing together 15 wonderful guests, and we will be talking about intentional living from our own expertise of focus. So she has coaches, wellness experts, organization experts coming all together and sharing, just what they believe about work-life balance and intentional living. She'll have discussions around personal boundaries, limiting beliefs, and personal success. I brought Staci on to the show today to share a little bit about the summit and how you can sign up for free, because it actually started this past Monday and it runs through the week. So you can head over there today and sign up, and you will be able to listen to all of the experts since Monday. I'm not going to give away what day I am going to be there, because I want you to take full advantage of all the people that Staci lovingly brought together. You can find links to the summit on the show notes, or if you are in Apple Podcasts, just tap on the episode notes and a link will take you right there to sign up. Now, there was a little bit of a tech issue when we were recording our interview, but luckily it straightened out just as she was introducing herself, and we'll hop right over there now and she can just take it from there.
Like you said, my name is Staci Witten. I am a certified professional coach, and I help professionals answer that question, what's next? And I do that by applying my 20 plus years in human resources and recruiting, as well as business ownership. And so my clients will usually go one of two ways. They come to me when they're burned out or they just know there's something more to life than what's happening. And they'll go one of two ways. They'll either start a business or they will change careers. And I help them figure out what that path is. I partner with them through that process and then help them strategize to get to that next step.
Yeah, so you kind of help them answer, like, what do I want to be when I grow up now that I've hit this burnout stage?
That is exactly it. And let's face it, we ask ourselves that question so many times in our lives that
No kidding.
I think for our generation, it's very common to change careers multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I know that I have. I've gone through so many iterations of, where I started and then where I am now. And it's really interesting to look back. But I can honestly say when I look back, and I know you and I have talked about this, is that I can see kind of like that golden thread that like runs through them all. And I know that you help your clients kind of help them find that for themselves and ways that they can use their strengths that they have and to build the future.
Exactly. Not only their strengths, but their gifts. There's gifts that people either fight and don't accept, or they just don't recognize it as a gift and that they could really do something with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That gave me goosebumps. Well, before we dive any deeper, I'm starting off the podcast now by asking my guests a question. And so I'm going to ask you this question as well. So you and I have known each other for a long time. I already know that when you and I are having a conversation 20 years from now, what do you want to look back on this time of your life and believe, see, remember? Like, what is it about this time of life that you want to look back on and say, yeah, I did such and such, or this was a great time for such and such?
Great question. Personally, I want to be able to look back and know that I've lived intentionally. I've put my family first. I've enjoyed life. I mean, we go through our 20s, 30s, and 40s, and maybe our 40s, we might get it a little bit better, but our 50s, we better conquer it. That life you need to enjoy. And family for me that's one of my values, and just, whether it's my parents, my brother, my aunts, my cousins, whoever it is, that I'm spending quality time with them, as well as my friends who I consider family. And I want to do fun things with my husband. I want to travel and do things like that. So I will have those exciting adventures to share 20 years from now. And then professionally, I want to be able to look back and tell stories about people I've met, and I've partnered with them and helped them realize things about themselves that they never knew they could accomplish, and that they are accomplishing today, having their stamp and their impact on the world. And as I think, like I said before, people don't realize their gifts and their strengths. They don't know how to use those experiences, but I believe that our faith puts us in a situation where we either acquire talents or build on our strengths that we can offer more to people and more to the world. So, and I'm not saying develop this huge mission or ministry or anything like that. That's great if that happens, but even if you're in a career in an office setting, that you can just be able to touch people's lives in a way that has an impact is a huge deal.
Yeah, and that it sounds like that really what you're wanting to do is look back on this time of life and realize that you've touched people's lives, like your gifts have helped others. And what a beautiful way to look at that, and just the ripples that you create when you do something like that.
Well, you word it so eloquently.
Please don't ask me to repeat it, because I won't remember exactly what I said, but it just really hit me that it was like, yes, you're wanting to help people do this, but this is what you're doing as well. And
well, that's my intent, and
yeah.
I pray that it is having an impact on people.
Mm-hmm. I love what you said too about it doesn't have to be like this big monumental thing. I think we get stuck in that. Like, we think that if we're going to start a business, or if we're going to create any type of change, that it needs to be like this big headline, huge humanitarian effort or something like that. And if we don't do anything like that, then it's kind of like we can take this attitude of like, well, why even bother? I don't know how to do that, so why even bother? And I love that you just called that out, that it really can be something that is, I don't want to say it's small, because it might seem small to us, but it doesn't necessarily mean the impact will be small.
Yeah. If you think about somebody that has said something to you before that you can remember, that helped you choose a direction. And it may have been about a relationship. It may have been about a job. It may have been about, I don't know, having kids, or how to raise kids, whatever the case may be. If that helped you take a path that changed your life, that one, I mean, it could have just been a simple sentence that somebody said to you. That's a huge impact in your life. And that one person probably doesn't realize what they said, but it's just impactful. So I don't, like you said, I don't think it has to be huge. You don't have to write a book, or, be on TV, or doing,
right.
Have that mission, but just be aware of who you are and what you can offer.
Right. Exactly. So it's funny, because when you were talking about gifts that people have and they don't realize are gifts, I can look and say that one of the gifts that I have is empathy. And I, for the longest time, never thought that was a gift. In fact, it was a big burden. It really was something that would get in my way. It was very emotional for me. So it's funny when you said that, because that's the first thing that popped into my head. It was like, yeah, for the longest time I thought, oh, this is just, because I was called too sensitive, or, all these different things. And now when I look at how I've embraced me being empathetic, and how that's helped me be a better coach and better mom, and just, I feel a better person. But it is interesting how sometimes our gifts can be disguised as not really gifts.
Yeah. Well, you have to, that can be draining. Discernment is one of my gifts, and it can be draining. And I have to put boundaries up about using that, because it's, it can burn you out. It can exhaust you.
Definitely. Yes. So I know that one of the things that you like to help your clients with, and you and I have talked about it a lot, is work-life balance. And you actually have a summit that is coming up. It's called the Work-Life Balance Summit, and it's Design a Faith-Fueled Life. And I am super excited to say that I am going to be one of the guests. And so that's what I thought we would talk about today, is just the summit. And so that's why you're here. Well, besides the fact that you're a great friend. But yeah, I just thought that we would dive into that and talk about that. So,
this is I am so excited about it. I'm giddy. I am giddy about this project.
You're going to have
our house,
15 experts?
Yes, 15 experts. And
well, that's kind of funny when I said I'm a guest. And I was like, okay, wait a minute, 14 experts in Liz. So
no.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You got those good girl rules down and helping people identify them. That takes that coaching ear to do that. But we'll cover various areas, and this is a project that's been on my heart and mind for over 6 months, and it's finally coming to life. But the experts, when I was trying to figure out what areas we're going to cover, well, first let me back up. It's called Work-Life Balance: Design a Faith-Fueled Life, but I want to preface that give a disclaimer, I guess. When we say work-life balance, I'm talking about intentional living. I'm talking about living a more fulfilled, enjoyable, intentional life and making those decisions to live more intentional. And it's hard to say all that, so I said work-life balance.
There you go.
And so, every year I choose a word or phrase, and this for 2018 it was intentionally bold. And part of me being intentionally bold, there are several areas I'm focusing on, and one of those is health, and one of those is downsizing and decluttering. So those are just, and this is kind of selfish of me, but I think others can benefit. Is I'm covering those two topics, as well as career, passion, things that people are passionate about and they've turned it into a career. What else are we covering? We talked about the good girl rules and how to figure out what your passion is. I'm also talking to an eBay expert about, and this goes along with the decluttering part, but it's more than that. When she is so passionate about it, her name is Kathy Terrell, and whenever she talks about it, she's talking about not only her story is interesting, and I don't want to give it away about how she got into eBay selling, but she talks about how it helps people, and both the individual that's selling as well as the individual that's receiving. And she talks about cleaning out and all this stuff. I went to her for advice on some things, and so that's how I met her. And she's just extraordinarily, I guess, experienced in this area, and she used to sell on QVC and stuff. So she's really cool. Our health experts one of them is just high energy, that's been through weight loss in the past, and she shares her story, and she's just a go-getter, high energy fireball. I mean, she's helped so many women, and the stories that I've heard from her are fascinating. Her name is Christy Miller. Then we have a doctor, Dr. Holly Wyatt, who's an endocrinologist, and she gets it. I mean, you've had many guests about hormones and things like that, and values and all the important components of living a healthy life. And Dr. Holly gets it. She knows there's more to weight loss than just food and exercise.
Right.
We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about, there's one woman, her name is Kathy Nolan. She's a caricature artist. And Liz, I don't know if I told you this.
Cool.
She is going to draw me live. I mean, well, in the recording, it's live.
Right.
She drew me while I was interviewing her.
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah.
So you'll see my eyes, not on the camera. I'm like watching her. My ADHD brain,
right.
Looking at her. So, it's phenomenal to watch her, and she has some interesting stories, and this is her career now. She's our age, and this is what she's doing, and she's loving it. She came from the corporate world.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, decluttering was one of my goals for the year. We have Dana K. White, who recently published Decluttering at the Speed of Life. She's also a podcaster, and she simplifies decluttering for the creative brain.
Can't wait. Yeah.
I know. She's amazing. And she's funny. She has a great sense of humor. And then we have a woman named Leslie Josell, who is a productivity and organizer type expert. And she works with ADHDers as well as their parents. And then she also works with professionals just to help them put processes together so they can be more efficient. And she understands that everybody's different. Every brain works different. So some people like music, some people like color systems, some people, she just helps you figure out what's going to work best for you. And I could go on and on and on about all the interviews.
No, it sounds amazing. I can't wait. So it begins, and I will definitely have a link to this in the show notes, but you can find it at igniteworklifebalance.com, and you can sign up right there. And I am really super excited. It starts on the
April 9th. Monday, April 9th.
Yeah, I was scrolling up really quick. Yeah, April 9th. So by the time this airs, it will have been started for a couple days, but that's okay. You can still sign up. You want to go over there and sign up, and then you will be able to listen to the interviews as they're released. And I am really excited about that.
And even if you sign up post the 9th, you will still have access to those interviews for free until April 20th.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. So I'm curious, why was this on your heart? Like, what is it about pulling these experts together? What was it that just like this is something that I want to do? What is the root of all of that?
Well, there's several reasons. One is when people come to me, for lack of a better term, their life is out of whack. Right. Their emphasis is probably on their job and not their life and not the things that are most important to them. So when we start to get more balanced and live more intentionally, we will, of course, start enjoying life more, but things will start to get more in sync, and you'll be more at peace with everything. Right. And I think that when I start working with someone, when I start working with a client, we look at values first. And so it always comes back to values. And I knew covering a broad spectrum of intentional living or work-life balance, where it's going to help people figure that out, that's where it starts, is values. And almost every single person I talk to comes back to that in some way or form. Right. So that's one reason why I wanted to cover this topic. The summit itself, if you know me, you know that I'm very pro networking. And a lot of the people that I'm interviewing are through networking. And whether I've met them at different events or I've known them through different online groups, you're going to hear my dog barking in the background.
No, that's totally fine. I could actually hear it. I was laughing because I was thinking, I wonder how long it's going to be before mine starts. So no, it's totally fine. This is my guest last week. We had dogs barking too. So, hey, okay.
It's real life.
Two women in real life running businesses, and that's how it goes.
My lab's at my feet.
Yep,
so
there you go.
But now I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're talking about networking, which I had to laugh because I was like, I wonder if I'm the only one in that whole group that you actually knew before the online world.
Let me think. Before the online world?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Oh, looky there.
There's one other person, and that's Dr. Holly. We went to high school together.
Oh, okay. There you go. Well, actually, she's known you longer than I have then. So
yeah,
Dr. Holly wins. Dr. Holly wins.
I thought I was going to say yes, but I have to say no. That's not true. Yeah, but no. And a lot of them. I mean, you're involved in a lot of online groups, and you just build those relationships, and you feel like you know them. And when you finally get to meet them in person, you just want to hug them because you know so much about them.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to be able to bring some of those people to this venue to do the online summit.
Yeah. So I know that there's been a lot of work involved in all of this. You're pulling together, you're having these interviews, you're recording these interviews, you're editing these interviews, you're doing all this stuff to get this all together. Besides what you will not do the next time, what have you learned collectively from talking to everyone about?
From talking to everyone? I think, values are important. I think that when you have your own business, you need to if you're looking into somebody, nobody's perfect. Nobody is perfect, and you need to embrace that.
Right.
It's okay to embrace imperfection. And I think that all of these women, they all have a business of some sort. And it's not about everything is equal in work-life balance, because we've already said that doesn't exist. But being intentional about where you put your time is. So sometimes you might be pouring everything into your business or your job, like I'm doing right now. But then there's other times where, my daughter's home now, so I'm going to go spend time with her. So it's a give and take.
Yeah, I know when you and I had our discussion for the summit, and I mentioned how I think people look at work-life balance as being like being on a teeter-totter, where we are expecting like that magical moment we can remember as kids where it's both kind of like equally balanced and you just feel like totally suspended. And I feel like that is very dangerous. I feel like that's a very dangerous goal to have. I mean, it sounds great, but I just feel like we are setting ourselves up for big disappointment when that's what we're striving for. And because it's just like being on the teeter-totter, right? Like you may be able to reach like a little glimpse of that and feel that for a moment, but pretty soon, there's a shift and life happens. And then pretty soon your attention needs to be given to some other place.
I totally agree with you on that one. It's just not, you just can't be 100% balanced. I don't think you'd want to be. Life would be kind of boring if it was.
I have to agree. Definitely. Most definitely. Yeah. And I just feel like too, it's such it's a concept I feel that probably came about with good intentions, but it's just like everything, it's just kind of like maybe, it's been overdone now and the pressure is really too high. And now all of a sudden you've blown the good intentions of wanting to have work-life balance.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's why embracing imperfections and I'm through this process I've had to do a lot of self-talk about imperfection.
Don't we all? Don't we all? That's just part of life, right?
Absolutely. And embrace it. Embrace it.
Yeah.
One other thing I've learned from the summit is to really, if you have something that keeps surfacing for you that you know you want to do, and you may not know exactly all the steps to do it, go for it. Have the confidence in yourself to just go for it. There are so many resources out there. And at the worst case scenario, you can Google it or go to YouTube and ask how to do X. But just do it. This is something that I have thought about as I've gone through especially the last 4 weeks, and I've had support. I do have a video editor. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, I was thinking of that too. I was like, oh my gosh, she's editing all that video.
I have an awesome video editor.
Good.
But
does she do podcasts? Or she?
Yes, she does.
Oh, okay. I got to get that name.
She does audio. She's done some audio for me too. But just do it. Just take the steps, take baby steps. This has been I started this process 6 months ago and researching who I wanted to interview and what topics I wanted to cover and things of that sort. But then just build on it. Just keep moving forward. Don't stop. And when you get to a certain point, you're going to think, wow, what did I just do? Did I really just do that? Yeah. How did I go from this point to this point? And the confidence that you'll see in yourself is so significant. And I think that so many times people will just sit on something, an idea, because they're either afraid of failing, which we've talked about, embrace imperfection, or they don't know where to start. And that's okay. Yeah. It's okay. Just take a baby step.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I've done a couple of webinars on confidence, and we talk about in those webinars about how you can really get into this analysis paralysis is a term that I use, and it's used often. But when you're just thinking about something, you just create this loop, right? You're not moving forward. You can research, but it's not really until you take that action of doing, and that's when the next step appears. Like, I feel like a lot of times we're thinking, okay, I've got this great idea. And then we're looking around thinking, okay, where's that golden path? Where's the path that's going to have all the steps lined out for me so I know exactly what I need to do, right? But you really don't find that path until you take one step. And then after you do that one step, then another step comes up. And so I feel like that is such a great thing that you brought up, because I'm sure you didn't know all the steps involved in putting something like this together. But if you did, you might not have done it.
No, I would have done it still. But there are things along the way, and I kept saying, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this yet. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this yet. But I had people in my corner. I have surrounded myself with, and that's another thing, surrounding yourself with positive people who can lift you up and encourage you to keep moving forward. Right. I've surrounded myself with those types of people that kept telling me, either they gave me resources or ideas, they helped brainstorm with me, but they kept encouraging me to keep going. And I'm sure you've experienced this with your podcast. When you first, at the very beginning of your podcast, before you launched, you were entering into a new territory for you. Right. But now look at you, and it's I don't want to say it's easy, but I will say you probably have a process now that you can rely on.
Right. And my confidence, as it's constantly of me trying to push myself and do better. And but that's a whole different feeling than just starting. Like, I remember when I released my very first episode of so I released 3 episodes at one time when I first started, and that's what's recommended. And I just wanted to hide under the covers. Like, I had this vulnerability hangover big time, because I thought, oh my gosh, my voice is out there, and what am I doing? Who do I think I am? All that stuff was coming up, and I just wanted to hide. And now, and I was over editing my episodes and doing all this. And so it's really funny that now, I don't do as much editing, probably much to the, I don't know, chagrin of a lot of very professional podcasters. But, it's more about the conversation and that I want to share, and not that I edit out all of my ums or all the times when I stumble or all that kind of thing. So it's true. It's just I took a step, and then I learned along the way, and my confidence has grown. And now I'm almost at the point where I can listen to myself on an episode. So that's taken a couple years, but yeah, it is almost there where I'm not picking it all apart. But you are right. It's just it is taking that step and letting your confidence grow. And I really feel that as women of this age that we are, that we don't really push ourselves that much, right? Like, we've gotten pretty comfortable with our worlds of routine. And I'm not talking about you and I, because obviously we're doing this new venture, but I feel like it's really easy for us to make our world very small, because we get into these routines of getting up, having breakfast, going to work. Maybe you don't even have breakfast. We take the same drive. We do our jobs. We come home. We make dinner. We go to bed. And so that becomes our world, and our comfort zones start to become really small. And it just takes, just realizing that you want to break out of that kind of autopilot world, and taking a step to do something outside of that. And it may be uncomfortable, and there may be a lot to learn, but once you start, it's amazing how much your world actually starts opening up.
That's very true. I think that, and how you'll just feel energized.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best word I can explain it. You just feel like you can do the things that you've always thought about doing, but haven't.
Yeah. And it really is. It's kind of I kind of liken it to being like you're standing still, and you have like this little circle of yarn around you, and you just kind of get in that little comfort zone. And when you start like pushing those edges out and out and out, and then your world starts growing, and you're opening up, and you're open to more opportunities. You're open to more to more people in your life. And it really is. We're in such a great time of our life to be able to do that, if we allow ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful thing to allow yourself to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, well, Staci, I'm so excited about the summit. And do you want to just, I know I already said it, but if you want to share where people can go and sign up, you also have a Facebook group, right? Where once people sign up, they get invited to the Facebook group, and so they'll be able to discuss all that. So just share where people can find that.
If you go to igniteworklifebalance.com, that's where you can sign up. There's also a link on my website at staciwitten.com up at the top of the page. And go ahead and sign up. You'll get information about the Facebook group, but you can go ahead and join the Facebook group if you want. It's Thriving Career and Passion. Yes, Thriving Career and Passionate Life. And then I wanted to also say, like, each day of next week, there's going to be 3 videos released that you can watch, and you'll have the opportunity through April 20th to watch them. And then around noonish Central Standard Time, I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live for 2 weeks, starting April 9th, Monday through Friday. And during that Facebook Live, the first week, we're going to be talking about the interviews. Even if you haven't listened to it, I encourage you to tune in, because we'll just be talking about highlights, and you can ask questions. And I know that some of the guests are going to be interacting as well. So you feel free to ask them questions during that Facebook Live. And then even if you come back to watch the recording, that's fine too. Mm-hmm. And then the next week, we're going to be covering some of the issues that have come out of the summit, some of the questions, some of the challenges that people are faced with. And we're going to be offering some suggestions on how you can overcome some of those challenges.
Nice. How fun. Well, I will definitely plan on being there when mine is released. And I'm not going to say when it is, because it's a surprise. You have to sign up for that. But I look forward to being in the Facebook group and interacting with that. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Well, I'm excited you're a part of it, and I look forward to your listeners becoming a part of it as well.
Yeah, me too. Well, Staci, thank you so much for coming here and talking about work-life balance, and assuring everyone that perfection is not needed for that.
Absolutely not. Thank you for having me.